Something is shifting. What we were told was permanent is being questioned in real time. This is not simply chaos, it's an inflection point, or perhaps more precisely, a rupture. A rupture not chosen, but triggered. The point, however, is not the trigger. The point is our response. A moment when the future can bend toward what we choose to rethink and rebuild. But we cannot reimagine society without first reimagining ourselves. Remember this. Every system reflects the beliefs of the society that created it. Welcome to InflexionPoint Podcast, where Reimagine We begins with Reimagine Me. Oh, welcome to our audience. Welcome to InflexionPoint Podcast, a space for reflective conversations, personal empowerment, community engagement, and cooperation. In our reflective conversations, we think together in real time, explore meaning, experience, and ideas with curiosity without attempts to persuade or perform. Here, we don't just talk about the world. We examine the ways that we are being formed by it and how together we can reimagine it. I am your host, Anita Russell, and this is Reimagine We. And here's a quick hello from our co-host, Gail Hunter.
Hi, I'm Gail Hunter, and I'm glad you're here with us tonight.
Absolutely. So let's get started on today's topic. In this episode, we honor Kheprw Institute. Founded in 2003 in Indianapolis, Indiana by Imhotep Adisa, Paula Fair, and Pambani Uishi. I'm hoping that I got that name correctly. It began as a grassroots effort focused on youth leadership and community empowerment. So in this episode, we will explore how Kheprw Institute connects self-mastery, cooperative economics, education, and environment in community voice into a living model of grassroots transformation. We further explore the alignment of the Kheprw Institute and Reimagine We. We hope you will walk away with an appreciation of self-mastery, community empowerment, and wealth building as a practical model for transformative change. So let's just jump right into what this organization is all about. I just recently got exposed to this organization, just doing research on what are people doing and what are some of the things that we see that align very well with InflexionPoint Podcast, as well as our Reimagine We platform. And one of the compelling parts of Kheprw's origin is that it began with a simple but powerful premise. People in marginalized communities are not empty vessels or social problems to be managed. They are assets. They are visionaries. They are builders whose gifts are often constrained by unjust conditions. That is a fundamentally different starting point. And so when I first saw that, I was really struck by that statement there. People in marginalized communities are not empty vessels. And it spoke very loudly to me, because I don't consider myself to be an empty vessel. There isn't any human being that I've ever met that I actually consider to be an empty vessel. So just to give you a little bit of background on this organization, Gail and I are going to talk about the founding of the organization as well as the leadership of the organization. So in terms of the founding, the Institute was founded to create a more just, equitable, and human-centered world by nurturing youth to become leaders. So that statement alone is a mouthful, right? And so the work is rooted in African-American culture and experience. And the term Kheprw is an ancient Kemetic or Egyptian word for rebirth and renewal. And it is symbolized by the dung beetle, which brings new life out of waste. So for Kheprw Institute, this symbolizes using those skills and those resources and those relationships to create something new and beautiful. And Kheprw's mantra is this: community empowerment, through self-mastery, which emphasizes that improving ourselves is the foundation for positive change. So, Gail, as you were kind of digging in and finding out a little bit about this organization, what were some of the things that resonated with you?
I was just really impressed with their entire setup. I mean, it's first of all, it focuses on youth, and they do a lot of mentorship and guidance and teaching, and they take youth that maybe somebody else would not even consider that they would have that much gift or ability or skills, but they teach them what they need to learn. And then they provide the tools, and they provide the education, they provide the ability to borrow money. I mean, it's an incredible setup for success for this community, and this could be taken anywhere and really used to really advance population in many different areas.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that
All
was
of
the
it.
thing that I found
Yeah,
most intriguing about not just what they look like on paper, but when we visited their website, all the visuals and
I
the
know.
images and the children and all kinds of stuff like that just made me want to just invite the whole entire organization onto the
Right.
show.
Right.
So maybe
Their
that,
belief, they value each person and really believe that everybody can bring something to that table.
yes, yes.
And what they don't know, they can learn. Um,
Absolutely. And what they don't know, they can also teach to those who don't
right.
know. And
That's right.
so that's what makes
Yeah.
it just so incredibly powerful. So I'm just going to go through the leadership. There's three specific individuals that I wanted to highlight. The first is Imhotep Adisa, the co-founder and executive director of Kheprw Institute, a long-term equity-focused leader who has guided the organization's growth and public voice. He has more than 30 years addressing equity issues across public, civic, and business sectors. Then we have Paulette Fair. She is the co-founder of Kheprw Institute, an organizational leader and former program director associated with youth, food access, and social enterprise work. And then we have Pambani Ushi, co-founder of Kheprw Institute, the office manager and the operational leader connected to fundraising, administration, and community wealth building initiatives. So just looking at that on the surface, and when I don't even remember how I stumbled upon them. I was just doing some research and then they just like showed up. And so I think that's a testimony to, when you're looking for something, it can show up and it can
Well,
give you
yes.
something that you're definitely looking for. And just thinking about how this ties into Reimagine We. So we're going to dig a little bit into that. So I'm going to start by talking about their framework. So they do have this guiding framework upon which they base the work that they do. And Kheprw organizes its work around what it calls the 4 E's. That's empowerment, education, environment, and economy. And it's on its philosophy page, Kheprw describes these as the central tenets through which it pursues change, right? It also clearly links empowerment to self-mastery, which helps to explain why inner formation is so essential to the organization's identity. And so we can all relate to that idea of inner formation. So what Gail and I would like to do at this point is just kind of break down that guiding framework and just kind of talk about what it looks like and feels like through the lens of Kheprw. So I'm going to start off with empowerment and education, and then I'll pass the baton over to Gail. So from the empowerment perspective, they focus on building an empowered community through self-mastery and relationship building. And so one of the examples that they have there is what they call the Kheprw Institute internship program. And this is a year-round program for middle and high school students, and it's focused on leadership, critical thinking, and developing a specific area of mastery. So if you could think about that kind of environment for a child, for a young adult, for a teen, and what that could do for them in terms of how they're coming into their own, how they're coming to understand their own identity, and they're coming to understand their role, the kind of role that they want to play in life, and all of that. So just presenting that type of framework for a young person, I think is so important right now. And when I think back on, when we used to ask the Cairo question about whether Cairo is going to have the protests and all of that, and we came to the conclusion that the answer is yes. But his protests will come more through resistance and what he gets taught along the way. What are the things that he's empowered by? And so when I saw this particular program, it made me think of that with Cairo. He's 6 years old. And this program focuses on middle and high school students, preparing them to go into leadership, critical thinking, and mastery, right? And so that's the kind of thing I want for Cairo, right? And so the second tenet is education. And this is about developing critical thinking. What are those skills and practical capacity for personal and community transformation? So that is such a big thing for me, this idea of personal transformation, but also community transformation, that you're serving a purpose outside of just yourself, right? And one of the pieces of information that I found in this particular category is how they go about democratizing data. Right? I thought that was really, really powerful. It's a data course and initiative that is designed to expand that data access and build on people's ability to use information for community understanding and action. So it's about understanding that type of information for your own personal transformation, but then also thinking about it through the lens of community understanding, community engagement, and community action. So these are very, very powerful pedestals, if you will, that they're presenting. So at this point, I'm going to flip the conversation over to Gail, and she's going to talk about the second two, which are environment and economy.
Yeah. I have to remind everybody that these are programs geared towards middle school and high school kids, right? So just imagine being in that age group, or even your own children or grandchildren, that if they had the opportunity to experience this. So the third one is their environment, and so aligning beliefs and behaviors to create a healthy, sustainable environment for all life. One of the examples they use is what they call their AgriLab. It's a learning center for urban agriculture where youth and community members learn how to grow food, how to learn about sustainability, and also how to lead local environmental change. So you can see they're focused on self, other, and beyond that, and opening up to the community. And so it's been a really crucial piece for their experience in working with the youth. And they have decentralized community gardens, where they've gotten 3 different vacant lots where they're leasing from the city of Indianapolis, and it's going to be accessible for everyone. And they're going to be teaching and collaborating with local artists to design and integrate art into the gardens on these lots for the community to enjoy. There's also a farming tool lending collective that they have, where you can actually lend and borrow the tools that you need in order to create a garden. And they're also they're using solar panels that they are looking to install at least enough to provide 50% of their electricity, and to hopefully eventually transition to using 100% for their electricity over the next 3 years. So so in their environment, they are really focusing on on how not just to sustain, but also that are looking futuristically and how to do this in a way that is going to be sustainable for the environment that they live in and respecting that environment. The next one is their economy, um, building a new economy grounded in cooperation, relationships, and community sustainability and wealth. They have a Kheprw Institute and a Kheprw integrated fund, like they call, that launched in 2020. And it basically aimed to combat the financial challenges that was faced by many small businesses in the communities of color and disinvested communities. They offer patient capital through loans, investments, and donations. And the integrated fund works in and with communities of color to create very vibrant and resilient, equitable, and regenerative economies by investing capital into local businesses that address common challenges, increases opportunities, and share prosperity with its workers to build and expand community wealth, which is a pretty incredible concept and so different than what we all have grown up with or lived with, where the goal is not just for self, but it's also for really developing and enhancing the community, helping the community grow, which I think is pretty incredible. You know?
I completely agree. So I hope one of the things that I hope our audience is getting is just how impressed we were with as we were reading the information about this organization. And what I love about their website is that they have so many videos that literally show them in action. So it's not just about reading what they do. You can actually see what they do. I watched a couple of video, one or two that caught my eye with the children and the work that they were doing directly with the children. And then, just kind of talking with them about that community presence. And one of the videos, they actually interviewed a number of children, and they all were like maybe third, fourth grade-ish, something along those lines. But to hear these kids talk, the way that they were talking and talking about their community, and not just talking about their community within the context of who they are as a kid, but within the context of who they are as a participant and a learner in the community. And you could tell that they kind of saw this as stuff that is grounding them and who they are going to be as they grow older. They're going to be taking this information, these experiences with them because they've been having these experiences at such a young age in their lives. Right?
Yeah. The other piece that's really fascinating is how they really are working towards building that community wealth, and then really harnessing that collective power that really resides in many under-resourced communities, so that they can create those opportunities in the environment. And they do it through worker-owned businesses. They do it through housing co-ops, intergenerational mentorship, credit unions. I mean, they really provide everything from the grassroots up of what they're going to need and support them each step that they take, which is pretty amazing. And it's like they really focus on the emotional and mental health of the person, and being able to really make sure they're grounded in knowing those truths about who they are, and they build on that and support them in many different ways.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
everything that you said is one of the reasons why I wanted to choose them, because as I'm looking at different organizations and the work that they're doing, I'm also looking at it through the lens of Reimagine We. And I look at them as being a perfect example
Yes.
of what Reimagine We can actually look like, right? But it also connects to the second half of that, the Reimagine platform, is that it begins with me. And so everybody in this community, at least based on what I saw,
Mm-hmm.
really, really saw themselves as a part of something that was much
Yeah.
bigger than themselves, right? And I
Yeah.
just saw so much power in that. And that for me, that's what Reimagine We is all about. Like you can see yourself, but we also want you to see with yourself within the context of something that's
Yeah.
bigger than yourself. And
What's
individuals,
bigger?
yeah, go ahead, Gail.
Bigger as a supportive. I mean, it's almost like being held by the community, and they follow the principles of Kwanzaa. I mean, they really focus on that unity and community reliance and determination. I mean, and being collective in their work and responsibilities. But
Hmm.
that it's like being held and being given permission and the tools and the skills and the confidence and the belief to be able to take those steps and create
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
for
And
self
one,
and the community.
yeah, and one of the things that really stood out to me as well, I don't know if you watched the video of the woman who had gotten her home. She had gotten her home. She was able to get the
I
funding for her
know. Yeah.
home, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
whole idea that marginalized people can't be trusted
Right.
with
Right.
homes and taking care of things,
Yeah.
all of the work
It's a
that they
lie, right?
do. Yeah. All
Yeah.
the work that the Institute does flies in the face of all
That's
of
right.
those untruths, I will call them.
Exactly. They are untruths. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing that with her getting her home, other than actually having the home, was the joy.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah.
The
You can just see it just
joy.
emanating from her, right? Just, yeah.
Yes.
And joy and
Yes.
pride and feeling proud of herself and feeling that she has, this is hers, right? And anybody
Absolutely.
that owns their own home can know what that feels like. But to have lived in an era and to lived in a community where that didn't seem like it was ever going to be possible. I mean,
Hmm.
that's just was unbelievable and beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that
Yeah.
as like a golden representation of the validity of the
Yeah.
work that they do. So between what you were talking about with the agri lab and they're learning to
That's
grow
right.
their own food and
Hmm.
all of these things that are really
Hmm.
the types of things that bound a community
Right.
together,
And they
right?
provide this integrated, this, they call it the Kheprw Integrated Fund, but they
Mhm.
provide the financial ability for people to use that and pay it back and so forth, but to bring it back into the community and pay it forward. It's really it's really brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would venture to say that as we
Yeah.
continue on this pathway of identifying organizations, we're going to find so many
And
other
then
ones
more.
because they're there.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
are there. They might
Yeah.
not be in the limelight
They're
or,
there.
but they are there. And their desire is not to even be in the limelight. It's just to do the work.
Right. That's right.
It's to accomplish their mission
Yeah.
and all of that. So they are to be commendable. And one of the things that I want to do going forward is to reach out to the organization. You know how we've done it in the past where we highlight
Right.
an organization and then we bring somebody in from that organization to kind of really
Right.
dig deeper into the conversation about what it is they do. Because I would love to talk to
I would too.
the
Yeah.
founders and
Right.
just kind of hear how everything evolved for them
Mhm.
and or maybe even have some of the young adults that are
Yeah.
there and just really talk about how this has impacted their lives and
Yes.
all of that. So I had a lot of fun digging into this because it seemed like I'd get to one page and it's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is amazing. And then from that page, I'd get to
I
another
know. I
page and it's like,
know.
oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's right there in
Yeah.
Indianapolis,
Right.
right there, And it took me back also thinking about the communities the Black communities that were successful
Hmm. Yeah.
in our history, where they were
That's
successful,
right.
but then they were destroyed, and this happened, and all of these things happened that kind of dragged at Wall
Right.
Street. Rosewood, everybody knows or so many people know those stories. And just to be able to see something like
Mhm.
this thriving in today, In 2026, this is a thriving and beautiful community.
That really is. It's incredible. And thriving is growing. They have plans for futures, not just currently, but they have looked at everything. I mean, I don't think there's anything that they have not thought of that would be necessary to help everybody be able to thrive and grow in this community.
Absolutely. And I feel like they serve as a great model for like other organizations, or for this work to be multiplied across different communities and all of that. So I think about in Pittsburgh, we just did the Africana Wellness Conference, which was pretty amazing. I got to participate in that as a speaker, a facilitator, rather, a workshop facilitator, and talking about reimagine we and this whole entire concept and this platform. And the more I talk about it and the more I look for resources, the more I find people are doing the work and doing it for the right reasons. Right. So it's very empowering. I mean, I hope our audience can tell that I feel completely empowered just like even talking about it, and, going through those 4 E's. They're all relevant: empowerment, education, the environment, the economy.
All of it.
All of it is wrapped together very, very nicely. And the way that they go about tackling each one of those, but not, the thing I like also is that they don't tackle each one of those in isolation to one another.
No, not at all.
It's their system.
Right, exactly. It's collective. It's yes. Everything is connected.
Absolutely, absolutely. So like I said, I'm really the next step is reaching out to the organization. I did kind of reach out to them and just let them know, hey, my name is Anita Russell. I'm doing this, highlighting and honoring your organization and that sort of thing. But the next step for me is to actually circle back to them and let them know that we would like to invite them onto the podcast so they can tell their story in their own words. Right?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Right. And so it's almost time for us to take a break, but I just wanted to say this one last thing that I found so amazing. And that is why, and it gets back to what I had said earlier about that inner formation and how that is central, not just to the people. We talk a lot about this inner worldview formation and all of that, but it's a part of the organization's identity. Okay. So it's not just the individuals, it's the organization and everything that they're bringing in, that they're talking about, that they're educating about, that they're growing about, they're empowering about. Right. So it's pretty darn amazing.
Yeah, one of the programs are even using that they're using men that are about ready to come out of prisons. And they're training them and teaching them skills of carpentry and how to build a house and so forth, that they're going to let them use and practice in building a building that they're wanting to raise for their own purposes. But it's teaching them skills. It's also bringing in high school kids that are interested in doing that. And I mean, they really do look at this in a holistic and collective way that is really amazing.
It is, absolutely. So having said that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll resume our conversation about the Kheprw Institute.
Want a speaker who can inspire your audience and keep them laughing and learning all in the same moment? I'm Erica Gummany, and that's exactly what I hope to do when blending personal stories, deeper spiritual insights, and practical wisdom with a whole lot of humor that keeps everyone engaged. My intention is to create safe, transformative spaces where real growth and connection happen. Book me to speak or facilitate something amazing at yourpivotalpoint.com.
What else can be done to improve the quality of behavioral health care? Well, tune in to the Wellspring Behavioral Health Transformation with me, Brian Jones, for conversations that inspire new ideas for building better spaces of healing and care with experts who are reshaping the future of behavioral health facilities. Contact me directly at bhsme.org to stay connected and help you one-on-one to transform the healing facilities and the care that we give. Together, we can tap the Wellspring and make a lasting impact.
Do you want to better understand and embrace neurodiversity? I'm Dr. Lori Noto, with over 30 years of experience working with diverse and unique individuals. Through my consulting and purpose-driven life coaching, I focus on empowering individuals with disabilities. My passion is advocacy, providing the tools for neurodiverse individuals to thrive and feel included in classrooms, workplaces, and communities. Unlock the potential of possibility, power, and purpose. Connect with me today at notoholisticconsulting.com.
What if Sanctuary wasn't just a place, but a way of living? Tune into the Sanctuary Network every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern with me, Mary Ellen Popick, for inspiring conversations featuring thought leaders, healers, authors, and everyday seekers, plus voices from the Sanctuary Marketplace, spotlighting the community that makes this movement thrive. This isn't just a show, it's your sanctuary. Visit thesanctuarynetwork.com for more information.
I'm Tristan, a shaman, astrologer, and human design reader. I help unravel spiritual ideas to create change and growth in your life. Whether you are just beginning or need a knowledgeable best friend with the next phase of your journey, I'm here to help. Think of me as your pragmatic shaman bestie. I work with high-vibe, lovely people like yourself in personalized sessions that will leave you with a sense of clarity that energizes you to make impactful change. Connect with me, your pragmatic shaman bestie, at musingsandmodalities.com.
Welcome back to Inflection Point Podcast as we continue our discussion of the Kheprw Institute and its 4 E's of philosophy and programming. So in this portion of the conversation, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into how the Kheprw Institute parallels with Reimagine We, right? And so one of the deepest alignments that I see is that both Kheprw and Reimagine We resist shallow change. We resist keeping things just kind of on the surface. We're talking about digging deep, right? Individually, digging deep organizationally, getting deep in the community, and all of that. And so neither their framework nor the Reimagine We framework is satisfied with performance, branding, or rhetoric alone. So this isn't just about talking to put a good game out there. This is about actually doing the work, right? So both organizations point towards transformation that is relational, structural, and rooted in how people understand themselves and one another. Mm-hmm. So your thoughts on that, Gail?
Well, it's brilliant. It's in order to really change, we all need that support and help and ability to look within ourselves at a much deeper level in order to change and reframe our belief systems, whatever they were that were not working for us. But for them, what they're doing, they're looking at helping people do that. And then also with the children coming up, they're giving this incredible opportunity for them to really see that truth of who they always are. And living it and experiencing it and the support that they're not alone. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's dig into the parallels individually. So the first one is this idea of self-mastery. And I love the idea of self-mastery. When I first started thinking about my coaching practice, that was one of the terms that I used. Like, this is what I want to do. I want people to get to that place where they've mastered themselves, right? In terms of their thoughts, their beliefs, their ideas. How do they show up in the world? Their words, their actions, behaviors. So all of that kind of takes me back to when I first started my coaching practice and the way that I wanted to approach having coaching conversations with individuals. And so the first one, as I said, is self-mastery. And so Kheprw explicitly says that the way to create an empowered community is through self-mastery. And I can put myself completely in agreement with that. When individuals know themselves, they know what their gifts are, they know what their desires are, they know that they want to do this and they want to do that, and that they're in an environment where what they want to do or what they view as self-mastery is honored. So it's not just about telling a kid, you must do this or you must do that. They open up the door for exploration.
Well, I mean, they support them, and not only do they help them look within themselves and see what they want to master, then they provide the opportunity, the education, the tools, the mentoring to be able to experience that and create that, and to know that about themselves. I mean, that's so crucial.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Completely agree with you. So the second parallel is community engagement. And Kheprw says that people in a community are its greatest resource and emphasizes self-reliance and self-determining communities. That is powerful in and of itself, right? And I think in a way it goes, in some ways it kind of goes against like the general way that people think about communities, right? I think there's a way that people look at communities sometimes just in terms of a place where a bunch of people live, right? So we might have the Hill District community in Pittsburgh, or, this community over here. But it's so much more than that community being just a bunch of people that kind of live near each other. It's so much more than that. And I like the idea of, talking about the resources. What are the resources that we have in our community? Like you were talking about the tools. People need to use tools. So I can use tools over here because I know I can use this as a resource, and then I, bring it back, or I have something that can be useful to someone else.
Right.
Right.
Well, and when it says self-reliance, I mean, it's really, they really believe in developing these skills and so forth, but it's not done just alone. It's done in a community. It's done with mentors and people that are training and teaching them. It's guiding them, and it's also looking at their emotional health too, and making sure that they are emotionally connected, right, and spiritually connected. I mean, so it is completely integrated.
And holistic.
And very holistic, yes.
Yeah. Very, very holistic. Like throughout the entire organization, the people, how
looking at
very holistic approach.
Right. They look at the whole person,
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole community.
And the community most of all,
Yeah. The third parallel is that socio-political awareness. So it's programs around dialogue and housing and land and data. I mentioned earlier about their data analysis work and all of that, and development show that Kheprw is attentive to structures, to systems, and not just personal behavior, right? Because when you think about it, in that community, when the people do come together to do some things, they're creating systems within that community. The AgriLab is a system within that community, right? And so I see that as a very powerful socio-political awareness aspect of the whole entire thing, because you're not just seeing yourself within the context of this micro thing over here. You're also seeing yourself within the context of these bigger systems that are there, that we all have to contend with, these bigger socio-political systems and all that sort of thing.
And what they do, they work on, they're developing this, and their goal is to eventually have everybody learn how to grow their own vegetables, let's say, or how to grow their own food to some extent, and provide the opportunity, the knowledge, the skills, and the tools that they need, and the supplies that they need, and to be able to empower that person to know that they don't have to live in a food, in a place that there is nothing that they can do to really connect with a grocery store or whatever to sustain themselves. And it's done collectively as in a community.
Yeah,
Individually,
exactly.
community.
Exactly. The whole food
Yeah,
co-op
that's
model, the
right.
whole
Right.
business co-op model,
Exactly.
and all of that, I think, has so much
Mm.
power.
Yeah.
It just really has so much power. And so the fourth parallel is community rooted economics. Now, when I saw this one, you know what it made me think about? It made me think immediately of Ujima Collective and the whole entire a space of work that I do with them around cooperative economics, because cooperative economics does not have to be competitive.
Right.
It does not have to be extractive. It can be cooperative, right? And so Kepra's work on the integrated fund, which I believe you mentioned earlier, and
Right.
social enterprises and community wealth building reflects an economic vision that is grounded in cooperation and collective well-being. So when I think about the larger capitalistic system, well-being is not something that's embedded in that system at all. It's mostly about extraction. What can I get, right? Not what can I put in,
Right.
but what can I take out, right? To meet my own financial or whatever my goals are. But they look at it through the lens of collective
Mm-hmm.
well-being,
Right.
right?
Right. It's not about having let's say a store and somebody wanting to come in and say, I can make more money than you can. I'm going to build
Mhm.
one across the street. It's not about that at all. It's like really everybody wanting the other to really grow and flourish and to be successful. It's a totally different concept than what is going on that we have ever grown up with or experiencing now.
It truly is.
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, it
Yeah,
truly is completely the
completely.
other side of the coin, right? I often
Yes,
talk about the sides of the
it
coin.
is the
It's
other side of the coin.
completely the other
Yeah.
side of the coin.
Mhm.
And its design is based on everybody
That's right.
doing well,
That's right.
not just this segment or this socioeconomic group or this racial group or what have you.
Or
It's
doing better. That hierarchy isn't there anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That hierarchy is definitely not there. And the more I, was digging into and doing the research, it's commendable the work that they do. And it's like they have a model. They actually have a model that other organizations or other cities could potentially think about if there are other people out there who are listening to this and they think, oh, well, we have a little bit of that, but how can we grow it?
Mhm.
How can we mature
That's
what it
right.
is we're
Yes.
doing? How can we dig deeper with our own resources and things like that?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So just when you sum all of that up, it's like Kepra's language of mastery, self-mastery, people as community assets, supportive relationships, critical thinking, cooperative economic life strongly parallels what reimagine we, because we do the same thing. So if you see what we're doing, right? I don't do it necessarily within the context of I have this organization, but I do it within the context of I can teach people and I can show people how we can do this, and I can do it through other communities that I'm connected to, like the Legacy Arts or the Ujima Collective. So even though I personally may not have some of these things that are listed here, I am a part of communities that do.
Right. It's like even the nonprofit I do, we highlight, one of the purposes was to highlight practitioners that are in the holistic field. And some people have asked and said, why don't you get up there and do that? And I said, well, I can do that, but my goal is really to support others in the field and help them get out there to be able to be seen and known, and so the communities can realize what is available for them, and in order to work on healing or developing whatever it is that they specifically need to work on. So it's a different concept, but I think it's a crucial one.
Oh, absolutely. And I think as more people, so when I look at social media and I can see that more people are just being disgruntled with where we are.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm seeing so many organizations like Kheprw, as an example, that are kind of stepping up and saying, we don't want to do it that way. We want to do it this way. Right? And sort of making that break from the traditional capitalistic view and moving into this cooperative community engagement, cooperative economics, because everybody can win.
And that's the goal.
That is the
goal. Yeah, that's right.
Everybody can have the opportunity to win. Right?
Well, that's sort of, if you look at this as we are really a collective humanity here, is that not the goal? Is to support this humanity that we are part of? At many different levels, starting at that level.
Exactly. Exactly. So to our audience, as you can see, we are so excited about the whole concept of the Kheprw Institute. In addition to the work that we do around the Reimagine We, Gail has OMA, I have the Place to Soar, Ujamaa Collective, all of this grassroots work that is going on. And I would say that the grassroots work that we have, that we're doing, that I'm seeing, is the biggest ammunition, if you will, that we have against some of the other ways of looking at existing and all of that. So I truly believe that there's so much power in what we can do collectively as people. There's so much power what we can do with our vote and all of these things, right? So that it doesn't have to look dismal. Right now, everything just looks so dismal.
It's frightening. Many people are very frightened.
Exactly.
They don't see how it's going to change back. They're changing into something different and needs to change into something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. So we're sort of in that wind down portion. So I just wanted to throw out what my final sentiments, if you will, concerning what we've been talking about to our audience as you're listening. As you can see, the Kheprw Institute, what they offer is more than just a list of programs.
Right.
It offers a way of thinking about yourself in connection to other people, a way of thinking about community life, right? And how does it join self-mastery, cooperation, critical thinking, and sustainability? How do they go about doing that? Because those types of things, I believe, are the things that are going to be really, really critical for us as we move forward from the places where we are right now, right? And so it's about, Kheprw is an example of how public works can point towards a more just, more equitable, and more human-centered world. And it does so by insisting that communities already contain the gifts, the assets, and the possibilities that are worth cultivating. And what that means is they're looking within themselves as individual human beings, but also looking within the community. What are the resources that are there? Because I want to go back to that statement that I had said, that they begin with a very simple premise that people in marginalized communities are not empty vessels
Oh,
for
right.
social problems to be managed, right? So when I think about what I've gotten out of all of this, and I'm going to pass the baton over to you, Gail, for your final words on what you got out of this study. And yeah, so I pass it to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I love about it is that it values everybody. It values every age group. It values where you are and wanting to be able to enhance and empower that person and the community, whether you are 80 years old or you are 16 years older, right? I mean, it's a beautiful concept and it just is brilliant because it really does support the individual, but it supports a group, and so people would feel not alone. They would feel like they are connected, and
Yeah.
that's what's missing. We're needing to feel that connection, right? And so that we're all these separate little islands going on here, and that's not really whatever has been the goal, and that nor is that what's going to help us and heal us.
Right.
It's going to be about connection.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think this conversation is a reminder that transformation is not just about resisting something that is broken, right? It's also about building what is life-giving. And the Kheprw Institute invites us to imagine community as a place of self-mastery, that shared responsibility. And I love this term here, collective possibility.
Yes. Yeah.
Collective possibility. And that is a vision that is worth enacting, moving into power, empowering, and all of that. So I'm looking forward to the possibility of actually having somebody from the Institute come and have a conversation
really nice
with
stuff.
us.
Yeah. Because they really are about empowerment and from every age group to every individual, and finding it's like, and even when people talk about being broken and how can you put those pieces together, it's, the pieces are all there, everything's all there, but they also look at the healing process of what is going to need to happen, right? And just the first step of being seen and recognized as being valuable, I mean, that's huge. To even inquire who that person is, what did they do in their life, what are their dreams about, and so they start with that concept of everybody's valuable, everyone.
Absolutely.
It has something to offer. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have a couple of quotes from the Kheprw Institute. We believe that the most significant resource in any community is its people. That is a very simple yet very profound statement. And it kind of goes against the grain of a lot of other things that kind of rain down on our heads from time to time, right? And then also building a new economy based on cooperation is essential to address the challenges of the present and sustain our communities into the future, right? And so in the Reimagine We work, a lot of that is exactly where we are focused on what is the future going to look like. When we first started Inflection Point Podcast, we kind of recognized we're in this point, this inflection point where things can change very dramatically, right? And people who do work at this level are the individuals who want that change, that very dramatic change, to be positive across the board and not just isolated, hierarchically, like you were saying earlier, not just isolated like that.
Exactly.
Right?
They really do want it to be collective. They want it to be connected and offered to all, right? It has to be the goal. Yeah.
Exactly. So this pretty much brings us to the end of this episode of Inflection Point Podcast. I hope our audience was able to get some information out of this, that something was sparked in you. And if that is the case, when you go on to the web page for this particular episode, we have a giveaway list, right? And in that giveaway list are a number of things that pertain to the Kheprw Institute. Oh my gosh, there's probably about 5 or 6 different resources. We sort of slice up their website, so to speak, so that we could put some really, really prominent or important. So those really, I mean, everything is important, but just we couldn't put everything on. So we had to kind of narrow it down. But I would encourage our audience to go into that giveaway resource list and look at some of the information that is there, right, on this on this particular organization. And then I also have, this is something new that I've been adding to the giveaway list. It's called the Reflection Ethos. And what I decided I wanted to do after each episode was to give people a resource that they can use, that they can ask themselves some questions that are related to the content that we have presented in the podcast, right? So I generally do just like maybe 5 questions or so, and they are intended to be very introspective questions. So I'm letting the audience know you got to be willing to kind of dig into yourself to kind of answer some of those questions. And then I've talked a lot about Reimagine We. I am actually offering a year-long Reimagine We certificate program beginning in June. But right now, what I'm offering is a registration for a complimentary Reimagine We exploration. And so I have a couple of dates that are listed there, April 30th. I'm sorry. Yeah, April 30th is the first one. But I have probably like 3 more. But if you go on to the list, the resource list, you can find that information there as well. So just, I'm pretty sure we're just about completely out of time. So I just wanted to finally say to our audience, thank you for being here and thank you for listening. And if you do go in and do the Reflection Ethos, go on to the YouTube and pop us a comment, or go directly onto the website where the episode is housed and pop us a comment so we know that, you know, that you got something out of this. So just as a reminder, Inflection Point Podcast is here every first and third Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. Pacific time and 6 p.m. Eastern time on the Transformation Network. And so until next time, keep listening for those inflection points that help us reimagine who we are, how we live, and what becomes possible together. So we'll see you at the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to Inflection Point Podcast on the Transformation Network. To discover more about the Reimagine We platform, subscribe on Substack at anitadrussell.substack.com.